Welcome to the Pre-Established Creative Podcast, a podcast in which myself, Connor Burr, and my girlfriend Matisse talk about our plight to become better creative people. So join us each week as we talk about that. Thank you.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed members of the jury. This is a very exciting episode of the Pre-Established Creative Podcast. I have two very special guests, listener number 1 and 4. We have listener number 4, Erin Yeager-Freeborn.
Hi, my name's Erin. I'm Canadian.
And then we also have listener number 1, Rachel Kemp.
Just love ginger kuss.
Thank you. This is very intense.
Yeah, I'm a little nervous.
It's really weird because I feel like I said, last 2 episodes that me and Matisse have recorded, we've been very aware that you two are the only people who listen to the podcast. Mm-hmm. And now that you're here, I kind of want to be like, all right, guys, listening at home, we have Erin, but it's like, you are the people listening at home.
And Davo.
And David. Hello, David.
Hello, David.
Hello, David.
Yeah. So how are you guys feeling?
I mean, a little bit nervous.
Mm-hmm.
This microphone feels like it's like piercing through my heart
Absolutely.
to listen to every thought that I have, but otherwise, pretty alright.
I feel like we're all shouting at it too.
Yeah.
It definitely feels like another person in the room though, yeah?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You can't even look at it, Rachel.
A terrible, judgmental person.
Yeah. Okay, so what I thought we could talk about, well, this is what I want to talk about with Matisse, but now that you guys are here, we wanted to talk about how we had been slack last week with not reaching our goals, and how, actually, reflecting on that, it is very much, what am I trying to say? It's like, you can let yourself fall into a slump and not do things, rather than it just being like a natural occurrence. So, maybe you guys could talk about your creative things, and how you possibly have dealt with that. Otherwise, I can lead. If you guys want a talking point to jump off.
Well, I mean, they call it a practice because that's what it is. It is practicing every day and making a routine out of it. But that's incredibly hard to do.
Yeah.
If it's not your like source of income, or you don't have like an impending deadline to get that done.
With someone holding you accountable for it.
Yeah, you have to have some sort of like end accountability to doing it. It's hard to make it like a daily thing.
Yeah, me and Tess even talked about how it was very much like last year. It was very much like in my spare time, I like to do music or something, and trying to move it from it to be like, actually, it's not in my spare time.
It's a priority.
Yeah.
It's a priority that I do.
Yeah.
Putting the time aside with the intention for it, rather than going, oh, I'll do it when I feel like it.
Yeah.
It never happens if you do that.
Yeah, and I felt like last week when I was sick and then hungover, like I like let myself be like, oh, I'm too tired to do it, rather than actually like prioritizing and just like getting on with it.
Give up drinking for creatives.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. How have you, because you both, I'm very much the rookie compared to you two, how have you both, I guess, do you guys want to talk about, how have you kind of gotten over that, or how do you deal with that as somewhat established people in your field?
I think that the most productive year that I ever had was when at the beginning of the year I applied for as many shows as possible.
Yeah.
And then just happened to get a few. And then had to do the work.
Yeah.
Applied with nothing. But sort of a rough idea of previous work. And then that made me follow through. I'm a real procrastinator, get it done at the last minute. As much as I try not to. That's just sort of how I operate.
But you were still like setting aside time for it, rather than just being like,
yeah. I mean, but knowing that
But
I
how
had
did you
to.
even like, do you even want to like go back to like, how did you even get into doing like art and stuff? Because by that point when you're applying for shows and stuff, you're already like, okay,
like
I'm somewhat all
established.
good at art.
Well, I mean, like, working or going to school creates a pace that you have to make work by.
Yeah.
And it gives you those deadlines. So, I mean, that's probably the most continuous that I ever made work. I used to do it, I mean, before that, that's high school. So, yeah.
And what about you, Rachel?
Yeah, I think it's the same. It's like if someone else, like with the set design that I did, if there's someone else you know is waiting on the work, it freaks you out so much that you get over your procrastination.
Yeah.
And also, like, aside from that kind of work, just doing what I enjoy. Like making foolish costumes.
But it's cool that you like, one thing I noticed very much with you, Rachel, is that like when you're like, oh, it would be cool to like make a costume, say, you actually do it. Whereas I know a lot of people who are like, oh, it'd be cool if we could like do this. I want to do this, but then never actually get around to it because they're like, oh, something came up, or oh, I couldn't get this material for it, which might like be like completely valid.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's like you take the opportunity to make work for things that wouldn't necessarily require it.
I think half of it's knowing the medium you're working in, because it's less intimidating if you know that you can adjust stuff and play around with it, and it doesn't have to be perfect from the offset.
And what your
if that
timeline
makes
will
sense.
be.
Yeah, like with sewing, I'm not a great sewer by any means, but like I know enough about it to just fuck around, kind of.
yeah.
If that makes sense.
Well, because I feel like I'm only just now starting to like build a good enough like skill set to try and break into, or get to a point where I'm like, I can actually be like quite happy with something I create in my spare time. But I'm still at the stage where I'm like having to dedicate spare time to it, rather than it just being like, when I've done every single thing else, then I can like dabble into it.
I think it's hard too when you know a bit about stuff, because you're comparing yourself to other people who are better. Like, say, for example, with athletics, I always compared myself to other people who did competitive athletics, whereas everyone at school thinks you're amazing because you're better than normal school people.
Yeah.
So you're probably, and I honestly think this, much better than you realise at what you do.
Yeah, because you're always comparing.
you're
But
comparing
you
people
don't
that
realise. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
and you're comparing
Especially
people
with art.
like, you know, you look at like a musician saying like, oh, I could never do that, I'm not good enough, and it's like, well, that person's been a musician for 10
Hours.
years and
Yeah.
spent hours where I've just started, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's hard to aspire to something without getting intimidated by it, I think. You just do it.
Do you still, as people who have you've been doing your kind of creative things for a long time, do you still find yourself falling back into the, ugh, I'm too tired and I can't be fucked, I know I should, but I can't be fucked? Do you still like tell yourself those kind of excuses?
Yeah, definitely. All the time. Like, I
like
procrastinate
crazy.
like crazy. I was thinking, when you were saying this topic, I was thinking of one particular thing that I assume it affects women more, maybe, because it sort of seems that way in like the course of art history. But I think that like having crushes and dating and being interested in boys like really ruins women's like initiative a lot of the time. It's like this weird distraction that's maybe too distracting for us.
A boy.
Yeah. Like
you got better things to do.
No, but I think that's something that like happens. Like you even like think about when you're like your first crush. Before your first crush, you have like all of these things that you're really into, like reading and like making art or whatever it is that you're interested in at that time, or even before your first boyfriend, say. And then the moment that hits, it's like that is all consuming.
Yeah.
That is so much. Your love life becomes this huge thing that prevents you from a lot of the things that you
really That's
spend
really
your time doing.
Yeah.
Or that you would choose to spend your time doing, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, like, Tissa's talking a bit about how she's like, oh, I feel bad that, like, I work in the weekends because we don't get to spend time together. I suppose it's like, yeah, but she's working at somewhere that she enjoys and she's happy in it. And it's weird that she's, like, willing to, like, sacrifice that to spend more time with me, given that we live together.
Yeah, I think that's, like, to some extent, a mostly female issue.
It's like a life
We're a lot more willing
thing.
to sacrifice something for men than vice versa.
It might be like, what's your priority in that particular time of your life? Because I know, I hope this isn't too much, but like,
we can just cut it out.
Oh,
If it gets too real,
good,
if it gets too real, I'll just get the music kind of faded and then we'll fade it.
Okay. With Mum dying, because she was very much into calligraphy and stuff, I think subconsciously, and it's me. I don't want to say connecting to it, but you know, like.
No, I can see that.
Experiencing it almost, like, because she did a lot of sewing and bits and pieces. The Celtic knotwork, particularly.
Oh,
yeah.
It's like different times of your life, and I found that quite helpful. Like after she died, so it was like different phases of your life. You'd have ebbs and flows with how much time you can dedicate to your creative stuff versus like sometimes you've got other priorities.
Yeah.
If that makes
Well, I
sense.
suppose that's like,
Valid.
I mean, I've like never really like properly like thought about this, but like just when you say like a relationship to like your mother kind of thing and how that fuels your creative energy and stuff, Like, my mum went to art school and, like, wanted to become an artist, but for whatever reason just, like, choked. But this was when she was, like, 50. So not even, like, as a young woman kind of choked and bailed. This was, like, oh, I've raised a family, now my children are in school, and now I can probably focus on myself. Went to art school, did really well, and still didn't manage to make it as an artist, like, choked, and, like, never, like, continued on with it. And I definitely see, like, that's, like, a kind of, I think, a big reason why I'm like, well, I need to try and take this seriously, because I don't want to get to that point where I'm 50 and thinking, like, oh, what could have been if only I
Well, I think
went through with it.
I think that a big part of that too, though, is that you have to have, like, especially early on, different measures of success.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Is
yeah.
success just really putting time aside and making the work? Because really it is for a long time and potentially forever.
That's definitely what I meant, yeah.
That is being successful as an artist, is making the work.
Yeah.
The,
also
the end result is that's not really what it is, right?
The goal is, like, something that you've got in your control. Like, it's unrealistic to be like, oh, I'm going to be a famous artist, because it's literally not in your control. Like, maybe more the emphasis is on, like, I'm going to produce like this
much stuff.
Yeah, you produce as much as you can.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, with this podcast, say, like, I'm not necessarily proud of each episode I'm not, like, proud of the content. I'm more proud of the fact that I've managed to put out an episode every week for 3 weeks kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, this is the practice.
Yeah,
which is a
it's
pretty big high to be writing.
Yeah.
It's really carrying me through.
Choo.
I feel like maybe this episode could be the one where we really
Tighten it up.
No, I was gonna be like, this is the one.
Everything.
This is the one that goes. No, I was gonna say this is the one that goes viral. Like, have you listened to the Worst Idea of All Time podcast?
No.
It's like a one with 2 New Zealand comedians where they watch a movie every week and review it, but the joke is it's the same movie every week they watch and review.
Is it that guy you like?
Yeah. Guy Montgomery and Tim Batt. But they have 28 episodes where it's like, yeah, it's funny enough, it's fine. And then on their 29th episode, they get really stoned and they watch it, and it's just them being like, and it's the best episode they've ever fucking done. And they, like, you watch, like, their viewership, and it's like, oh yeah, it's so good. And then that episode, it just spikes. Like, it's so big.
So weed is the thing. Have you got some weed?
No, but it's just like
how you make money.
You know, just the episode where it's just like loud people laughing loudly and yelling at each other. Audio gold. Yeah, well, it's really, like, that's a lot of food for thought. Like, it is really interesting. I definitely compare myself a lot to you two in terms of, like...
Really?
Well, yeah, I mean, like, you guys are comfortable enough with, like, things you create.
I mean,
and you're comfortable enough to be like, I can create something, and I'm not, like, ashamed to be like, oh, but, like, whatever, I'm just, like, dabbling in it. You know?
Oh, yeah,
but what
fair
about
enough.
your music?
Well, I still feel quite awkward and nervous to be like, this is something that I wrote and I'm happy with. I'm still like, yeah, but, like, whatever. It's just, I'm still, like, hiding behind that kind of thing. But it's interesting. It's nice hearing you guys talk about that and getting your input.
It's funny talking about art because I think everything sounds a lot more impressive than it is.
Oh,
I get a lot of people being like, you had solo shows and all of this. That's how you went to residencies and it sounds so amazing, but it's really like, it's really not.
Yeah.
If I had my own exhibition, I'd be fucking stoked.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
I mean, you think that, but it seems like a much bigger milestone than it realistically is.
Yeah.
Like I mean, those shows I applied to with nothing, and I was just like,
Please.
give me a show.
Yeah, it's the doing it, It's like trying not to care. We were talking
Yeah, I
about
mean,
this, like, not talking about your work, but just doing it and spitting it out and trying not to judge it and care about it too much while you're making it. Otherwise,
Yeah,
it
like,
makes you
don't make it too precious.
Yeah.
While it's in sort of the midterm, because you're gonna end up with something really contrived in the end, rather than like where it would naturally.
Yeah.
That's quite like an interesting, like,
The
kind of
process.
struggle that me and Tess are having with this podcast of, like, wanting to keep it, like, raw and honest, but also trying to make it, like, an enjoyable and, like, interesting thing to listen to, but then not making it be like, you remember that fucking the girl who wrote Eat, Pray, Love in her podcast, which is just like, oh my god, you have to tell your story and it's so precious, it's just so garbage.
It's a bit cringy.
And it's like, there's very much a big potential for us to go down that route with this podcast that I do not want to do.
There's a lot. There's something in it, but it's very cringy listening to her doing that.
I've never
very
listened to
over
it,
the
but
top.
that sounds
Elizabeth
awful.
Gilbert, eh?
Bad.
She has
really
good
bad.
points, but you have to really.
There's no
No, she
way that the
legit
woman
does.
that wrote Eat, Play,
She
Pray,
has-
Love
she
has
has-
That's a
like
horrible
anything
book.
to tell.
No, she's Big Magic.
Other than like, I went traveling for a while.
I know.
She's got this book, Big Magic.
Hmm.
It's like it only takes a day to read it. It's pretty easy.
It's
read.
more or
But
less
it's got
what you
good
guys-
Best
lessons.
literature you've ever read.
No, it's
Fuck
fuck
off.
off, Erin. It's more or less just like what you guys have been talking about as well. It's just like, don't be a pussy, put yourself out there, follow your dreams, and don't be too mean with it.
Do you know what we could do? Our own shit New Zealand version of it. We could get people on and review
Yeah.
their yeah. It's like your gay guys makeover, but for the creative stuff. So we'll break them down slowly, and then we'll build them back up.
Each week, we're ruthlessly mean.
What do you call this?
Yeah, we're ruthlessly mean, and then after we've broken them down, we're just like, alright, cool, so now we have got a flat plane to build. Oh, looks like that's time! Sorry, so good to have you.
We're art critics.
Yeah. Alright, we've been rambling for long enough. Before we head off, do you guys want to help me develop what would be some good challenges
For the next week.
for the next week for me to do personally in my creative life, and then possibly if you guys want to set some stuff for yourself?
Ooh.
Sing us a song.
Oh, that's too
Yeah!
that's too tangible.
No.
My one
You
my
could
one
do a
last
Christmas
week.
Carol.
Shut up. My one last week was tell people I'm not too close to about the podcast.
Okay.
It
Um,
is,
Are
that's
your
not
goals
creative.
all podcast related?
No.
Oh, okay.
I've got
But
to
it was just
vote.
more. It was more like just be comfortable sharing my work with people that I'm not close to, which I've kind of done.
At our Christmas party, you could sing us Christmas carols.
No, that's too tangible. That's too.
Exactly.
I think that like a
Exactly.
good one,
Getting
good one
used to
is like
performing.
I sang a song at Hazel's party.
I was too drunk. I can't remember that.
We sang Seabird.
oh yeah,
You
that's right.
always sing.
Bang.
Always
Seabird.
sing Seabird.
Yeah, it's a good song.
It is a good song. I think something like setting a specific time aside, like half an hour a day,
Yeah.
is always a good one.
But not in the morning because that's not
Oh,
feasible.
so I don't-
It's not a very interesting challenge.
Nah.
either.
What about you write your own Christmas carol that's themed like?
Well, I mean,
Something.
my challenge is going to be finish that fucking sculpture before Mel and
Yes.
Ross get back.
Oh
You should
yeah.
mount it on their ceiling and see if they notice.
If they notice.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, like
A
have it
giant
growing.
green sculpture growing out of the ceiling. But yeah,
You
so
can
that's
pass
my
it off
challenge.
you can pass it off as mold and be like, guys, we really need to get that dehumidifier going.
So that's my challenge for the week. Finish the sculpture before Mel and Ross get back.
Sure. I mean, I think just like guys, this is what I'm meaning. I'm at such like a young fetal stage that just like
you
be
are.
comfortable setting aside regular time to do your creative thing is like, that's amazing. It's mind blowing. So that's mine.
Well, what about our creative group that we had the other week?
Oh,
We
yeah,
could
we
do
did
that
that
again.
Crafternoon, yeah.
Yeah, Crafternoon
We
on
could
the
have it here.
weekend because I legit wouldn't
that
have
was
done
really
that other
nice.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we could just slowly work on stuff because I thought that was good.
Only problem about the Crafternoons is that like I would like to do like music stuff, which I think I need to be in my room, and it would kind of distract you, and I wouldn't necessarily want y'all around.
Well, I mean, you sort of Crafternoon music styles with Fraser.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could do more drawing and stuff like that. I like doing the drawing. It was just nice like being able to like hang out and chat, but then have something that I'm working with that if conversation came to a lull, it was like, it's okay, we can be like quiet.
Yeah,
That's
it's
really
rare
nice.
to sort of have a group dynamic of working on, or for me
Yeah.
anyways, to work on art in front of people is pretty rare.
It reminded
has
me
been
of
for a while.
studying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that reminds me
Yeah,
of
it's- it
studying,
is like
rather
studying.
than like working on
Very much
a
like
big
art
creative
school.
project.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Rachel, you need to have a challenge or a goal you're doing this week,
By Wednesday next week.
or just whenever. Maybe your fucking goal can be stop setting deadlines for yourself.
No, I like my.
Yeah, I do.
I like my calendar.
Continuous calendar of all possible events.
Honestly,
Your challenge could
it's
be
a whole
getting
new...
through work.
Yeah, no, legit. Ow. I don't know.
Well, what if we set some for her then?
Oh, I could keep working on that tent. I legit want to do this tent.
Yeah, okay.
What would you do to keep working on it?
Well, should that be a group challenge that on Sunday afternoon we do a Crafternoon or something?
Get
Okay.
a whole bunch of bamboo from your mum's place.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we've got bamboo growing
Would she
in my mum's
actually
house.
like... Can we
Well, like I
actually
say, it's
do
not actually,
it?
it's not actually on our property, it's on the neighbour's property.
Does Fraser know we're actually doing it?
We're doing a Crafternoon. Well, if he
Doing
listens,
the 10 as well.
oh well, I mean,
In
if he
8
listens,
months?
if he listens to this fucking podcast, yeah.
Frasier.
He told me he skimmed the last one, which was quite.
What does that mean?
It means that he listened. It means that he listened to like 2 seconds. Was just like fuck that, which is fine. I mean, whatever. Okay, cool. Well, it's been very nice having you guys here. You did actually surprisingly well. You've really like loosened up, despite the very friendly, patiently waiting person.
Can I breathe into it?
The howl.
Yeah, it's good. Nice. That'll be beautiful to listen to. Yeah, so
This is why it skyrockets.
You better not
That
cut
moment
it out.
right there.
the sexy ASMR episode. This week we're going ASMR.
Fuck, no, that's triggering. That's actually triggering. Yuck.
What's like something I've literally never listened to ASMR before.
ASMR is like... It's like, I am chopping these.
You need to be closer.
Yeah, you need to be way close. You need to be like,
Hi. Oh, how are you?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
disgusting. It's aggravating.
Oh, I am your nurse coming to do a rectal examination for you. I'm eating.
classic.
Oh, fuck! Oh, that was good. That's the one. All right, we'll wrap up. So thank you very much for coming, guys. It was
for
really
having
nice.
Yeah.
Do you know that we got an audio sponsorship deal?
From who?
This episode is sponsored by Audible. Sign up for 10% off.
You're gonna actually get sponsored by them and then get
Yeah,
my
start
money.
one, and then I'll demand that they